Hello and welcome to Tools in the Shed, a podcast powered by CarsGuide, ready to rip into car stuff that has caught our eye this week. I'm James, and with me is Crafty.
Hello.
Who's been thinking about taking a four-wheel drive straight off the showroom floor into the bush. And welcome Tung, who's been looking at the latest instrumentation that's weirdly old school. And we'll update you on the busy world, or is that cosmos, of our favourite Martian in this week's MuskWatch. So stay with us. But first, we've had some feedback. We've had quite a lot of feedback, and it's all good.
Awesome.
So first of all, our friend in the USA, Blake Swan, he wants to know why utes sell so well in Australia. You know, he says, is it a bunch of short guys trying to look tough? As in the USA, he believes is the experience in the USA, or are they used genuinely for off-roading or, you know, some other more genuine purpose? He's surprised to see also that Jeep's relatively modest sales numbers is off-roading a priority with those cars. So, as far as I can see, and Crafty, you're well placed as our adventure editor to comment, but it's not so much off-roading. The utes are more a commercial vehicle that's morphed into a multi-purpose family come-work type vehicle, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, they're everything to everyone, I think, nowadays. As we were discussing earlier, I think people want something with sort of everyday functionality. And it just so happens that utes have become that sort of go-to vehicle.
Yep.
You can carry stuff in, not a lot of stuff in the tray, as we also chatted about earlier. But, they really are sort of suited to mums, dads, tradies, people who want to get away on the weekends.
And they're increasingly, you know, your lifestyle choice as well, aren't they? So they're dressed up, they're tricked up, jacked up, all that kind of up. And you're right that the load space, actually, when you come down to it, to chuck stuff in there, yeah, you can put some tools and what have you in there, but forget about big lumps of timber. That's why you've got the kind of racks on the roof and whatever the bit at the tail end is where you can strap stuff up. You know?
Absolutely, and that's a rabbit hole we can go down another time because that gets into sort of stuff like payloads and sort of, how much you can tow, and we all know those figures can sort of be in the realm of fantasy.
That versatility of them as well, you know, where you can use them just for everything. You want to go surfing, throw your surfboard in the back there.
Yeah.
You know, do you have tools that you use, you know, from your 9-to-5 job, Monday to Friday? You can throw the tools back there. You can take the kids to school and everything.
So I think to answer Blake's question, there's probably a bit of A and a bit of B. That there are some genuine workers who want these vehicles and they want to cut their family as well.
Absolutely.
And the show ponies that want to, dress them up and be a bit tough about it all. So
absolutely. And they may never go off road. I mean, they may, it might be wet grass at the soccer ground.
Correct.
That's the moment.
Correct. So
but good question though.
Our regular of regulars, Hammer Rocks, has come at us with, a thought about wagons as enthusiast cars. You know, he thinks back to the original Porsche joint venture, Audi RS2, which was a wicked 5-cylinder turbo wagon, and the RS4, which originally was a V6 turbo that replaced it from the 90s. So he's on board that wagons do have a bit of a heritage in performance terms. So thank you, Hammer. Wax 333.
Oh, hold on. Did Hammer get his cap? Or did we send him some gear?
We did. We sent him a cap.
Awesome. Did he send us a photo of him wearing
Not so far.
Okay.
Good call. Hammer, send us the photo, please. Comments at carsguide.com.au.
Awesome.
We
Good
want
on you,
it with
Hammer.
that hat on your bonce. Thank you. And
that's your head for all those kids who don't know what a bonce
Wax 333 has been thinking about Chesto's badge value example. We were talking about how much is a badge worth last week.
Yep.
The case study being Z4 and Supra.
Yep.
And he's thinking Supra owners will be paying BMW money for repair and replacement parts because, you know, the drivetrain or the whole powertrain is actually BMW.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's a really good point.
Yeah, that is a question I actually put to BMW and
good on you.
Earlier this year, and they actually said, Toyota are going to have to get their technicians out there to get it trained, to get them trained to service this car. And it looks like, the car obviously hasn't launched here. The Supra hasn't launched here in Australia yet, but it looks like it'll likely be that only select Toyota dealerships will be able to service this car.
Right.
Wow.
You know, we're getting very limited numbers of the Supra as well. There's only sort of 300, 350.
And I suppose it'll also be a question, if it is small volume, Toyota may not be bothered, but they may go down the path of saying, well, we're just going to bite the bullet, make it an investment.
Yep.
We'll just have to sell our parts
Yep.
at a lesser price.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so you might have BMW owners ducking into the Toyota dealership to get their parts there.
Sort
Who
out
knows?
their Supra.
Yeah, that's right. And their Super. Now, SC has just come in with a random well done Chesto, your hat's in the mail. So that might be on Chesto's analysis of that whole
nice
brand
one.
thing last
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
Now, Greg Wallace, he's come at us. He's basically strafed us with 3, different pieces of feedback. We were talking about Levorg and Subaru and, why it wasn't more of a success. He says that it's actually grovel in the mirror universe, so Levorg backwards is grovel.
Yeah.
What are they thinking? I have things to say on Elon Musk, but I need to do some chin rubbing. So he's going to come back to us on Elon Musk.
Fair enough.
He's also concerned about our obsession, reviewers' obsession with water bottle storage in a car. He says back in his day, if you wanted a drink, you stopped at the server.
Yeah,
all right,
fair enough.
you weren't
Yeah.
worried about
Yeah.
the onboard liquid storage.
Yep.
Says, come to think of it, if you can get booked for, sticking a phone on your ear, why is sticking something in your mouth while driving legal?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
glad you asked,
Oh, yeah.
Greg, because we do have a story on, is it illegal to eat and drive? And as it transpires, technically it's not. But if you're doing something that endangers other people, that you're driving recklessly, the police can absolutely book you.
Yeah.
So if you're
Fair
juggling,
enough too.
if you're juggling 3 hamburgers,
But-
that's right, and you've got no hands on the wheel.
I've seen him. No. He's been stationary.
Big Mac's
but yeah.
behind the wheel.
But then Greg finally came in with the trifecta and said the Gold Logie Award for most popular snake oil salesman goes to Elon Musk. So
Nice.
he's done the chin rubbing and he's given us his verdict.
Glad you rubbed your chin, mate.
Now, what up, yo? Says the Genesis G70 is too expensive. We were talking about that in the context of what's a badge worth. It's as simple as that. Build the brand. That before you charge a premium price, you have to put some worth into it.
Absolutely.
So that's fair comment. John Burke, he says, where's the podcast, guys? Is there one?
What?
And he was commenting under the video of the podcast.
Oh, right.
YouTube.
Yep.
So I think his tongue was firmly in cheek,
Yep.
and
Okay.
maybe he
Fair
wants more
enough.
substance from our podcast.
Maybe.
I'm
Yeah.
not
Let
sure.
us know.
Gee.
But
Give us some
then
let
feedback.
us know.
Prince Dog Official also found the badge brand value chat interesting. He's a 4-wheel drive enthusiast and mentions the, quote, Toyota tax.
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
anything with a Toyota badge seems more expensive and carries its value through to the second-hand market.
Yeah. Resale is,
Yeah, correct. So you do get strong resale, but you've probably paid a little more up front. Yeah?
Absolutely.
He's surprised with the big price difference between the Supra and Z4. He's seen reviews where the Toyota's quicker, even though they're similar weight with an identical drivetrain. So, look, that'll all come to pass when we can get our hands on a car, and we'll see how it measures up with the Z4. But that's fair comment. So, thank you to all of those people who've taken the time to give us their feedback. It's fantastic and very much appreciated.
Top work.
Now, Tung,
Yes.
the news, you've joined the CarsGuide team.
Yes.
You're going to be our Melbourne-based operative.
Yep.
And you are overseeing our news reporting.
Yep.
And what's the news on digital instrumentation? That's something you'd like to talk about today.
It absolutely
Fill
is.
us in.
I guess first of all, I'd like to say hello. What is up, everybody? I'm so excited to be aboard and be part of the team.
Or you could say, what up, yo?
What up?
One of our commenters.
Yep, for sure.
Directly
What
to
up,
He's
him.
making me
right
very
back at you.
uncomfortable. He's not usually this polite, so he's making me very uncomfortable.
That's right.
So I thought I'd kick things off with a chat about digital instrumentation. You see these new systems in cars now where they fit in 10-inch, 12-inch screens, but they still have this adherence to displaying that information in a round, almost analog way.
Yeah.
What is the point of that? I mean,
we were talking about it, weren't we?
Yeah.
The ideal, I suppose it's just gently kind of getting people to embrace
Yeah.
something that's quite different.
Yeah.
They could go full on and make it multicolored zigzags or whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll give you it'd be nice to have the option of your traditional analog dials.
Yep.
And then you can configure it so that you've got your big digital speeder or whatever you want. But your point was that's not always the case.
No, not at all. I mean, you have systems now. You have systems now from Audi, which are great. That virtual cockpit, I think, is the best instrumentation implementation on any vehicle on the market at the moment.
Yeah.
The way you can sort of tweak things, change things, get the information sort of up in a clear and legible way, quickly and easily, just from a few clicks of the steering wheel. And then you compare that to something from, Mercedes-Benz or BMW.
Pretty static.
Pretty static, yeah. The new 3 Series interior, yes, they've got, it's not round gauges, but they're still, circular
The
shape.
thing being that Audi was pretty much at the leading edge of this, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they're first and still probably the gold standard.
I
in
would
your
absolutely
view.
say so, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I want to see more customization.
Yep.
I want to see, an app store sort of style, system implemented.
You'd
where
like
you
to be
can-
able to print, Tung's dials above the top on
absolutely.
the dashboard.
Yeah. How about, you give us an app and we can design our
Does
own
it itself.
instrumentation
Yeah, it's
and
not
just
bad.
send it over into the car,
Jeez, look
Yeah.
out, yeah.
That sort of stuff
Yeah.
that you can do on your tablets, your phones, your computers
Yeah.
these
We'll
days.
deal with those legal problems.
Yeah.
later. It's no problem.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I take your point about the BMW one in that you can change through modes, okay? So the engine, trans, exhaust, all of those things.
That's what that weird sort of
Or
thing
pick up-
in the middle there is.
pick
like
up-
Yeah.
the
looks
steering,
like a-
the steering wheel.
Oh, no. Is that what you use it
No.
for?
But what that seems to do is just give you a different colour behind your instruments, makes it look a little angrier.
Yep.
But you're not getting any fundamental
No,
change or
no.
ability to really reconfigure things.
Not at all. We'll throw up some video of this, obviously, to
Yeah.
give a visual representation of it. But
For people watching on YouTube.
the BMW, the 3 Series system just tends to have a very sort of lo-fi maps in the middle of instrumentation. You
Yeah.
can't change that, and you compare that to, Audi's virtual cockpit, which looks basically like Google Maps,
Yeah.
where it's detailed, it's colourful.
Yeah.
You've got you can zoom in and out. You've got quite a lot of information at your fingertips, and the BMW one just looks like
And strangely enough,
a line on a piece
most
of
of the
paper.
time, not all the time, I do know where I am.
Yeah.
So, it's not 100% necessary to have the map there.
Exactly.
Yet it's the default thing. It's
Yep.
not a default, it's the setting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I've got to say, though, I don't know about you, Crafty,
Yeah.
if you've got into recent Merc passenger sedans, their twin screen kind of display where they've Siamese these things together,
Oh,
and
really?
it just gives you this widescreen,
Okay.
instruments here, media over here.
Does
It's
that work?
breathtakingly
Does that-
beautiful. It looks very techy and lovely when it all lights up.
Yep.
It works. I couldn't help thinking about, a classic car restorer 20 years hence. I've been looking everywhere for the
things you
diode
do.
that makes
Yeah.
this screen
Yeah.
work.
I can
It's
imagine.
going to be a nightmare.
I mean, we all want the experience to be engaging, like the driving experience to be engaging,
Yep.
but you also want the tech to be user-friendly and easy. Even when you're going slowly off-roading, you still need to access stuff
yeah.
quickly,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
still
Yep.
need to know where to, what to, the dial or
The
whatever.
one
you
that
need
gets
the screen
me is
to be
when you're using
clear.
a hill descent control
Yeah.
or even ascent control,
Yeah.
and you can change it with by
Yeah, you can change
whatever
the speed,
means.
yeah.
It really helps to know where you are
Absolutely,
in
yeah.
terms of
Yep.
your retardation
Yeah,
at
yeah.
any given moment. You want that to be clear as
Yeah,
crystal.
and you want it to be precise. You
Those
don't want
kinds
to be
of
trying
things
to figure it
off-road.
out yourself.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great point.
But it's funny, you bring up that intersection. It's almost, cars and technology are almost starting to merge into one sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not exclusive of each other. Like you
No.
can still have an engaging experience driving something, but
Yep.
it can still be full on high tech,
Yep.
but just really user friendly.
Too true. I mean, you still want to be able to feel like you're operating the car
Yes.
rather than the car's in control. That's probably coming down the track. But right now, there are some things that are immovable. You'd like them to be adjustable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is maybe one of those things.
Absolutely.
It'd be great to get people's thoughts too. Whether they're
absolutely.
currently driving a car with your old, this thing has a cable fixed in the back of it and it goes down to the diff or the gearbox and you actually get a read on how fast we're going. Or whether it's electronic or whether it's digital, how people are relating to this kind of technology. And it's filtering down to more and more cars. Yeah?
Absolutely.
All right, well, Crafty.
Yeah.
We will move to your good self. The concept of off-road ready, straight off the showroom floor, it's been occupying your mind recently. Fill us in on your thoughts.
Well, I had the pleasure of driving a Wrangler Rubicon.
A Wrangler?
Wrangler.
Is that a rectangular
shape?
Wrangler?
Yeah.
I knew you'd pick me up on that.
A Wrangler?
It's like in one of my recent reviews, I meant to say frills, but I kept saying thrills. So it's the speech impediment. Whatever. Whatever.
No thrills.
It's a great word. It's like someone that works on the farm that has a specific task.
yeah.
We'll need to get the Wrangler
I've
in.
been
and
speech impediment shamed. Thanks a lot,
Yeah, that's
fellas.
very good.
Thanks a lot. I know I can come here for support. Anyway, I went in a Rubicon,
Yes.
2019 model. I took that out, and what it led me to think was, and this thing is very capable. I took it onto a 4-drive side, an unofficial one, very hardcore.
Yep.
I probably wouldn't take any other showroom sort of standard vehicle out there beyond perhaps a 70 Series Land Cruiser or something like that, or a Jimny at a stretch.
And what is it about the terrain craft? Is it rocks or is it steep or is it?
This was a bit of everything, JC.
Okay.
This started off with some very deep wheel ruts, so some moguls, if you will.
Yep.
And the Rubicon has a sway bar disconnect.
Yep.
So you can sort of boost the wheel articulation. It's already got a fair bit as standard, but you can disconnect that, which helps out your wheels find traction. It's got a front and rear diff lock.
Wow. Yeah.
Ground clearance is a bit iffy. Like we did find ourselves scraping the bit, but like I say, it was hardcore. The tyres were great, and these are standard tyres, mud terrain tyres, BF Goodrich.
Yeah, right.
Unreal tyres.
Great.
Plenty of tread bite, and for the stuff that we were driving, fantastic. I know I always harp on about tyre pressures, but I always find it quite insightful not to mess with them.
All right.
As your ordinary Joe would drive out and think, well, I can drive anything. I've watched the ads.
Yep.
I'm going to drive anything.
Yes.
Just to see how far it would get with. And I did everything. And I'm talking sort of halfway up the door deep mud holes.
Wow.
Some pretty sort of
So
hardcore
in
stuff.
that kind of setting where you're wading through something, did the water find its way into the car?
No. I mean, you try and keep a bit of a bow wave in front of you.
Right.
It's not rocket science. You've just got to drive conservatively and sensibly. You don't have to sort of rampage through everything. These things will often climb over anything if you just take your time.
Yep.
And so to your point, this car is rock stock standard as it would
that's
come to anybody
straight
off
out
the
of
showroom.
straight out of the showroom.
Yep.
I mean, standard with those tyres.
Yes.
And those tyres are a big plus. I mean, otherwise it's pretty damn capable.
Right.
So,
But
being a bit of an off-road noob in the room here, what do you think a car needs to have to be off-road ready or capable?
Tung, that's the question that tyres and a little bit of ground clearance, obviously. But tyres are the big thing.
Yep.
And just a little bit of considered driving.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are pretty capable. It's really, you've got to think about ground clearance though, whether you're going to go in ruts that are so deep that you're going to be getting hooked up on the belly of the vehicle itself.
Yeah.
For climbing rocks, I mean, the technology and all these things is fantastic. But again, if you're just trying to rampage over everything, you're going to damage your vehicle.
Yeah.
You're going to put you and your passengers in danger, quite possibly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's no need to do it.
And the thing that I constantly get confused about is the difference between a ride height and ground clearance.
Yeah.
Where the body is relative to the hard points under the car.
Well, this
and
is
how you
also a
lift
big
each one.
issue. And I mean, running clearance and ground clearance, essentially the two sort of same things, if not similar. A lot of car makers sort of get away with giving you fanciful figures in the spec sheets, and it's nowhere near that when you actually measure it.
So is it ground to body as opposed to ground to the bottom of the diff, or a diff
that's
or
correct.
something like that?
Yeah, because your running clearance is whatever the lowest point of the vehicle is. Not just your side steps. It's what's going to hit the ground first if you're not driving sort of sensibly.
Yes.
So, but that's a whole other rabbit hole
So
we can go down in another show.
Would you think though that the majority of vehicles that are put up there as, look, this is ready to go bush, that's a truthful statement, or there are some weaknesses in there, and this Wrangler is the odd one out in that you can go and do all that? It's special in that sense?
Well, it comes back to Tung's question, what's the most important thing? A lot of these things roll out of the showrooms with highway tyres, set at road pressures,
right.
And that's going to, they're just going to sort of scramble away for traction if you get on anything pretty serious. Having said that, a lot of these things, and I mean, people have different ideas of going off-road.
Yes.
Some people it'll be gravel tracks.
Yep.
That's
Some
off-road.
people it'll
Yep.
be sort of medium to deep ruts. Other people will want to crawl up rocks.
It's the
crawl up and
beach
down
or
rocky
it's
hills.
whatever.
Yeah, or beach sand.
So as a manufacturer, you've got to try and pick a middle ground.
a sort of happy medium.
That's going to
Yeah.
allow people to drive the car on bitumen, which is, let's face
Yeah.
it, where it's probably going to be
Yeah,
most of the
spend
time.
most of its life.
And
yeah.
if you are one of those people that wants to really, get on with it,
Yeah.
you'll be in the aftermarket or their accessories department.
Absolutely,
putting
pretty
whatever
soon.
on it. Yeah?
Absolutely. Things like the Jimny and the Rubicon are pretty good. And
Right.
you'd imagine that those things, there'd be a huge compromise in on-road ride and handling.
Yep.
But I'm happy to say, maybe with the Jimny, it's not as diabolic as you'd imagine, sort of driving on road, and the Rubicon also. And those tyres, again, I hate to come back to the rubber, but they're surprisingly quiet on road, and the steering's a little bit sort of free
You
and
can almost
easy.
say a bit Wrangler.
That's right. Yeah.
Not quite where
I'm
it
not
should
gonna
be.
try and say Wrangler again, but Wrangler.
Yeah, good.
But and I mean, so on road they're not as terrible as some people might imagine.
Okay.
But yeah,
It's
there you
food
go.
for thought, though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
If that Jeep, and they've built their reputation over a very long period.
Yeah, trail ready
Absolutely.
vehicles. Yeah.
And you can believe it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. All right, now we're going to talk about other vehicles now, the ones that have been residing in our garage, as well as the Jeep. Now, I'm going to kick it off. This week I was driving a C-Class C200. So that's an interesting car because the C-Class is such like it's the backbone almost of the Mercedes-Benz range. As it's continued to proliferate out into niche after niche, the C-Class has remained a constant. And this one, it's the C200, so it's the entry point into the C-Class. You're talking still about $65,000, but it's a 1.5 litre four-cylinder car, but with the turbo. And this one has the EQ boost, so it's actually a mild hybrid. It has a starter generator between the engine and the transmission, which can actually give you a boost of extra oomph. It runs a 48-volt electrical system to run some of the bits and pieces, as well as the standard 12-volt. And an electric compressor that gets some boost going before the exhaust has a chance to spool up the turbo to minimise that lag factor. I've got to say, I found that from step off, when you're just stationary, I thought it was still a bit hesitant.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually as instantaneous
Wasn't
as I
kicking
would
in
have
as fast
would
as
have
you-
liked it to be.
Yeah.
But the other thing that got me about the car was just its overall quality. It's so nicely put together. And as an entry-level car, it's got the Artico trim, which is vinyl.
Yeah.
All right, but so well done. Honestly, I would say 9 out of 10 people would say that's leather.
Really?
It
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
like it, feels like it. It's a really good material. I'd imagine it'd be as tough as old boots, you know. So I was impressed with the car. The design, it's got the digital everything. It's got a big digital media screen, the digital
Lucky.
display in the dash.
And you enjoyed it? You found it, quite ususeful?
Not really. I didn't play with it a whole lot. I was concentrating on the trim, which was strange. But I also found I jumped in the back and it was a little bit limited for headroom, which was I was surprised by. I'm not the shortest or the tallest person. I'm probably somewhere in between.
Yep.
And oh boy, that was quite obviously not.
Oh,
good
really?
in
What,
terms
your
of
head
headroom.
was
It touched.
Oh,
It touched
really?
the
Yeah?
roof. So
Okay.
I would have expected something different. But I enjoyed driving the car. It was just so nicely done. The attention to detail is so obvious.
Yeah.
So if you're in that kind of market and you want your traditional sedan, you could do a lot worse with a few little foibles here or there.
I guess.
Do they move? Sorry, mate.
Speaking about niche filling a Mercedes, the new generation, the second generation CLA is actually longer than the
Is
C-Class.
it the C-Class?
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, look, from time to time, I think I know where you were going, Crafty. The C-Class has occasionally broken into the top 10 selling models in the country.
Yeah.
It's such a popular car.
Yeah. Wow.
And I can see
Yeah.
how it's done it.
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
All right, now, Crafty, we'll move to yourself.
Oh, you've covered me off, mate, with the Wrangler.
The Wrangler.
You bar stools. You'll never let me live that down, will you?
All right, fine. Well, Tung,
Yes.
what you have been driving something that's a reasonably recent arrival.
Yes, landed in showrooms late last year.
Yeah.
It is Audi's new Q8.
Yeah.
So this is their top-tier flagship SUV now, based on the same platform as the Q7.
Yes.
But doesn't have third-row seating, so it's only a five-seater.
5-seater.
Yep. Big boot and a swoopy roof line.
Yeah.
So with the swoopy loof line,
Wrangler.
so the Q7 is a 7-seater.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they've gone Q8. It's your SUV coupe style body.
Yep.
Sacrificed the third row of seating.
Yep.
All right. So do you get a little more? You don't get any more storage space because it's compromised, I suppose, with the fall of the turret
taper
towards
of the
the back.
roof or whatever,
It
yeah.
is. But I don't have any kids. I have a wife, and we cart around in inner city Melbourne to get coffees on the weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
it wasn't.
So you carefully place your coffee in the centre of the load area.
yes, yeah,
Very
that's it.
gingerly transport it back to your
Right
house.
is good. But what I found,
And
what
croissant.
I found driving in the city was it felt too big.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
right.
It's a very, very wide car,
Yeah.
and when you're navigating the streets of Fitzroy, when there's
Yeah.
parked cars on both
Oh, yeah.
sides, and you're
Yep.
sort of trying to thread the needle in there,
Yes.
it can get a bit hairy sometimes.
Really?
But tech loaded to the hilt.
Yeah.
That surround view,
But in a good
monitor,
way.
absolutely in a
Yeah.
good way.
Yeah.
They've done this in the new generation A7 as well, but they've done away with the tactile buttons and switches for air conditioning and climate control. It's all on a screen now.
All right.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is that the screen has a sort of haptic feedback, so it feels like you're actually clicking
really?
down on
Yeah,
something.
right.
Oh, wow.
It makes the clicking sound. It vibrates, so your finger feels like
Feels
something's
like you're
going
pressing-
down,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
nothing's actually
It's
happening.
just a screen.
Exactly.
Wow, that's unreal.
Yeah. So the tech in it is just absolutely incredible.
Right. So you get the feeling that people who do want the primo big
Yep.
SUV or go a Q7, they might have the kids, they need
Exactly.
everyone to pile in.
Yep.
With that third
But if
row,
they
yeah.
want the larger size, but some of the tech in it's a bit more of a style statement as
Yep.
well with
Yep.
the way the car looks.
Yep.
That's where you're headed.
Absolutely.
So would Audi position that as its flagship SUV,
Yep.
or is it sort of on a par with the Q7, or it's up there?
It's
the
up there.
Okay.
Q8's definitely
Q8
up there.
is
So
the one.
it's just under 130 grand. You can get one in, a diesel. Diesel launched last year. Petrol launched earlier this year.
Okay.
And they've recently announced that there's going to be an SQ8.
Oh.
So like a hotter diesel-powered sort of
Okay.
performance-orientated
Like a sport
version as well.
sort of,
yeah.
okay. Wow.
And
All right.
rumor is there's probably going to be an RSQ8 as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But
Of course there is.
yeah, that's probably a few years down the track.
Because Autobahn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For other markets, not for us.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Maybe.
Fair enough too. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, speaking of speed and agility and premiumness, it's
yeah.
time for MuskWatch.
Musky.
Muscarelli.
All right. First of all, look, the news in Elon's world has all been about Neuralink this week. We've touched on this before in MuskWatch, and it's Elon's vision of connecting people's brains to computers. So to me, that seems like mind control on a mass scale.
Yeah,
To him
just a little
and
bit.
to others, quite rightly, it aims to build a kind of scalable implant to connect human brains with computers. It's already been implanted, apparently, in rats, and the plans to test its brain-machine interface in humans within 2 years.
Wow.
So any volunteers step forward now.
I would definitely put my hand up for
it
that.
is-
Yeah, there you go.
It is an invasive process.
Yes.
So there's a little...
I can't imagine drilling into your head and shoving
And then I
something
think
in
it's a
there is
little
not
soldering
invasive.
iron.
eh?
You just get the soldering iron out and fuse them on there.
Just someone with a rusty old Leatherman just
Yep.
gouging a hole.
That's right.
Hold
Yeah,
still.
just take a swig of this. And the goal is a very worthy one, is to eventually begin implanting devices in paralysed humans, allowing them to control
Wow.
phones
Well,
or
that is,
computers,
yeah.
all
That
that
is
kind of
admirable.
stuff.
Yeah.
Now, there is a history of that. It's been done via other means. But the big advance is these flexible threads, which are less likely to damage the brain and create the possibility of transfer. And you can also transfer a very high volume of data that will enable this kind of weird magical link between humans and tech. So during a Q&A at the end of this presentation, which has launched all this news this week, Musk revealed results that the rest of the team hadn't realised he would. He said a monkey has been able to control a computer with its brains.
Wow.
So they're at that point. Now, late night with Seth Meyers, shout out to them. I was watching a video. He said, we already know connecting human brain to a computer is a bad idea. Picture of Trump. Twitter logo. I thought that was pretty good. Now, then he's also been out there this week talking about retained value for Tesla cars.
Yep.
So he has said on Twitter that Tesla's a great investment because they'll be worth more in the future once they're capable of full self-driving. Right? So there was a bit of Twitter back and forth with a customer who'd bought a Model 3 for $74,000 US 8 months ago, when the same car can now be purchased as an exact same car for a touch over $60,000. So this person's taken a bath. And Elon said in response, if we make all cars with full self-driving package self-driving as planned, any such Tesla should be worth 100 to 200 grand as utility increases from 12 hours a week to 60 hours a week. Now, I did a bit of digging, and what he's meaning by extra utility is that it could be turned into a robo-taxi and earn extra money. All right. Now, that brought on a bit of feedback. It's really the difference between an appreciating asset and one that delivers earning capacity, but still depreciates. The car itself will still be a heap, after a certain period of time, and no one wants it. So also, how many owners will actually want to do that?
Exactly.
How many want to do that with their car? Also presupposes that Tesla will have level 5 autonomy all to itself. So there won't be any other cars out there that can do this. That's not likely.
Which is highly unlikely.
And that Tesla will just give it to owners when it's available. Here's your level 5 autonomy. It's just a free update. I don't know whether that would be the case. And what about reliability? What about insurance? And also, what about the cost and inconvenience of vomit, urine, other DNA in the car when you get it back from your extra utility? And I thought there was a great commenter on Jalopnik, which was running the story. What's he called? Turbulence 1988 loves spinning Doritos.
Wow, that's his handle. That's
a bit of a rotary fan there.
Quote, autonomous sex closet is the name of my REO Speedwagon tribute band. So there are a few little things, hiccups here and there that you'd want to address.
I mean, just because you buy a house and then you rent a room out doesn't make the house any more valuable.
And if they rent the house, it's gone down in value.
Absolutely
right. So it seems to be on a false premise. But tell us what you think. Maybe we're missing some core economic principle here.
Which is probably likely, The
other thing that people have been going off this week about is Face App, and they've been aging themselves. And it's maybe a plot from foreign countries to get all of our data by capturing people's faces. Anyway, on Twitter, a person called Deepak CFO said, weird, I asked the Face app for an older image of Elon Musk, and this is what it's showing me. And we'll show it to people watching on YouTube. But it's actually an older face Elon, which is quite interesting, but in an orange suit with handcuffs on. Which I thought was a pretty good take on the whole thing.
Oh, boy.
Now, the share price has actually bumped up.
Oh, really?
It's at $254 for a Tesla share at the moment, up from $230 last week. So it's definitely on the up, on the back of a video interview that Elon actually did with Motor Trend magazine, where he threw a bit of shade at other automotive brands, allegedly, behind the game in terms of electric vehicle technology. Musk said that cars other than Tesla, quote, have no soul or no heart. And they wonder why nobody feels anything for them. So he's talking about EQC. He's talking about
just having a go at everyone.
A whole bunch
just
of
having
stuff.
a general crack at everyone.
So and Bloomberg called out another increase in production and that they're back in hiring mode. So internal communications have been talking about we're going to ramp up production even further.
So
people are buying into that. So we'll see where it goes for next week. Muskie, he's on fire as usual. Some of his cars.
When are we going to have him on the podcast and smoke a joint or whatever he did on Joe Rogan?
Hold that thought.
The invitation is out there, isn't it?
Oh, it's an open invitation. Look, there are negotiations are going on in behind us as we speak. Now, okay, with that, we have reached the finish line. Thank you, Crafty.
Thank you,
and
mate.
thank you, Tung. Top
Been an
job.
absolute pleasure.
And thanks to Mr. Pritchard, who is to podcast production what Oprah Winfrey is to car giveaways. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please tell others about the tools.
Can I just jump in there? And he's wearing a sarong today, which I
He
thought was
is
kind of tropical.
interesting.
In the middle of winter,
know.
it's kind of
He's
interesting.
looking
He's gone with
hot
the sarong,
today,
yeah.
like
Yep.
a sunrise. Anyway, even if you're not enjoying it, get it off your chest by searching for CarsGuide on Facebook and Instagram using the hashtag CGPodcast or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au. If you're an iTunes listener, please rate and review us. We've
yeah.
magically jumped back up to 5 out of 5 stars.
Nice.
Which makes no sense at all.
No.
I don't
No.
understand that. There have been reviews, and
Yeah.
yet we are 5 out of 5
My
stars.
mum's on there a
Strange.
lot.
Yeah.
And I know, she's a lovely woman.
Lovely.
She deserves a shout out. And
As soon as she was out of prison, she was on the podcast just rating us.
And remember, you can watch us on YouTube. If you're an iTunes or other listener, remember YouTube as well if you like. Until next week, I saw a truck overturned and on fire last night. The driver was stuck in the cab, and as the flames really took hold, he called out to me, "Quick, there's an extinguisher in the back." And as I walked away with it, I thought, what a generous bloke.
Dad
Very
joke.
good. Very good. I like it. Yeah.
Good stuff.